it 3 seconds and then start talking.
Good evening. My name is Jim Kello. Welcome to New Tracks Meetup. This is a show where mentors help modelers build. Really appreciate you coming this evening. Hope you come back often. Hope you tell your friends to join us. If you're new to the show, hope you'll go to our website, newtracksmodeling.com. And don't forget when you go there to subscribe to the channel. And you'll get an email. And if you'll confirm that email address is yours, then you'll automatically get the emails for the Zoom login links for all of our future shows. If you do that and you'd like to pass that login to your friends that you think might enjoy seeing the shows, please feel free to do so. We don't publish the links publicly for security reasons, but we have no problem with you passing it to your friends. We need a lot of help producing our shows. If you think that you would like to volunteer, we would certainly like to hear from you. We need all kinds of help, and every little bit that you can help us with is a step in the right direction for us. We've lost a key member of our team, John Frankfurt, as our webmaster. So we're in the market for a new webmaster. It is not a real time-consuming position, but it's a critical position because it's responsible for our website. So if you think that you would be interested in that, please let me know. My email is jimkello1@gmail.com, and I'd love to hear from you. John will be here till the end of June, and he and Dan Darty will be glad to provide all the training that you need on our website. And like I say, it's not a complicated kind of process, but it's just absolutely critical for the success of our shows. So I hope that you'll give some thought to volunteering to be our webmaster. I look forward to hearing from you. I've invited a special guest tonight. As I mentioned in our last show, when I saw the advertisement, an email from Walters Corporation about their scholarship program for 2021 for high school seniors that were interested in going to a 2 or 4 year college in the STEM programs and were model railroaders, I thought that was just outstanding. I've never heard of a company doing that before. Karen Formica is the Vice President of Marketing for Walters, and I've invited her to be here tonight to talk to us a little bit about the company that she runs and the program that she's responsible for. Karen, thanks so much for your time tonight. I think that this is just the first step of many, I hope, to try to get younger people's familiarity with model railroading at the front of both the educational institutions standpoint, but also give them some motivation for being a model railroader. I think it's just outstanding what your company is doing.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that very kind introduction. I'm very pleased to be here and to become aware of your group. I wasn't aware of it, and as we were sitting here, I signed up. So I hope that's okay. I hope that's okay. Anyways, I was very honored that Jim even thought highly enough of our program to warrant having me join you. So thank you very much, Jim. Walters has had as its mission for a couple of years now, well, for a long time, but really a focus for a couple of years to try to invite the youth into our hobby. We hear it over and over again from the clubs that, they're losing members as members age or fall away from the club. They're not finding, people to come in and join. And that's not universal, but we hear it enough that we realize it's an area of concern. And so we've been really focusing our efforts on trying to find ways to invite the youth to participate. And And if Jim will have me back, I've got a couple of exciting programs we're going to be launching in the fall that are designed for youth. And I'd love to share those with you. But for right now, we felt like we needed to put our money where our mouth was, so to speak. And instead of just talking about it, really start to do something about it. And so one of the things that I don't know, I just felt strongly about tying the schools and the fact that a lot of these kids have a mindset that is more into one of the STEAM areas of concentration that are drawn to model railroading. And there was a connection or a correlation between the two. And we thought, let's reward that and help them on their way by giving a little bit. We can't do a lot right now, but what we can do, maybe we can grow on this. But in the future, perhaps we even open it up for donations to people to support this, and we can make it bigger and bigger and bigger. But to reward those youth who actually participate in the model railroad program and then want to take it further, and it has influenced their career choice. We're working on a video right now that's going to launch in a day or two that I was so excited. I saw the preview this morning, and we have 3 students who are all model railroad guys, youth, and they're in various clubs or whatever. And they spoke so energetically and so excited about their love and passion for model railroading and how it influenced their decision to move on into engineering in this case. And it was so, I don't know, it just warms my heart to see. So this is just one small thing we're doing. And as Jim mentioned, it's designed for high school seniors or recent grads. This year, I'm sorry for those who are in Canada, but this year it's going to be USA only as our launch year, and we'll see how it does. And if we feel we've got enough interest in it, we'll expand it beyond the United States. But it's you have to have a 3.0 grade point average. You have to have a mentor that will testify that you are involved in some form of model railroading. Maybe it's a youth and model railroading program, or maybe you were in the Scouts in a badge, or maybe you participated in a clinic at a store, or maybe you have a family that just is our fellow aficionados of model railroading, and you help participate in that family build, or belong to a club. We want to celebrate that and invite them to write an essay about why they love model railroading and why it influenced their life choice for where they're going on in their career. So that's kind of all that's to it. And we just launched it. The applicants are due to have their applications back to us by July 15th. And we'll see what we get. We want to make a big deal out of it, though. We're going to feature them for those of you who are familiar with our annual reference book, our catalog, the winners will be featured in that book, and we plan to, promote it on social media and everything else. So, and Jim, I'm going to be meeting with, I think it's Jill.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking and seeing where we can go from there as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I hope that works out well for you. And you're welcome back anytime to talk about the other programs that you're considering. I really do appreciate that. Let me ask you one question, because later this evening on our show, we have the first hobby shop owner that I've invited to come and talk to us. And this is a lady who's been in business 26 years out in California. She only sells model trains, so that's her hobby shop. One of the questions that when I was trying to put this program together, one of the questions that the viewers, the people that are viewing you right now, wanted me to ask the hobby shop owners was about their Walters orders. This is critical to the hobbyist, the individual modeler. How often can they take the individual modeler's orders? Can they notify the individual modelers when their orders come in? And how much do the individual modelers have to order from a local hobby shop in order to get involved with their, quote, Walters order? So the hobbyist is concerned about being able to go through the hobby shop, the local hobby shop, on a timely basis and place, when they're getting ready to place their orders to Walters, and then have a notification somehow that yes, their order has arrived at the hobby shop and they can come and pick it up.
Oh, I see what you're asking. That's a great idea. We do not currently offer something like that that I'm aware of. I wrote it down, and if it's all right with you, I'd like to go back to my our vice president of sales who handles that. I don't, and present it to her and see what she has to say, and then I can get back to you, and then you can share that information.
That's great. Thank you so much, Karen. I really do appreciate you being here tonight, and best of luck with your program.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So now I'd like to go to Chris Coase and have him talk a little bit about the June 26th build along, or my build program. Chris won't be here for it. Jeremy Wyatt will be here in Chris's place. But Chris, you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Actually, I've got a slide to share if somebody can give me permissions to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, hold on one second.
But I'll put Jeremy's email.
got it.
Actually, if you could do it, Ed, because I don't remember it offhand.
I don't
Right, I think
remember
I've got
it either
share
at this
screen now.
point.
Okay, there we go. So my build on June 26th is, of course, featuring you. You're welcome to participate with any model you've got. If you're doing one of the build-alongs, then those go first. And then once we're done with the build-alongs, then we'll get into the individual builds. Maybe this is something you scratch built, whatever you want to talk about. If it's an issue you're having or something you're just proud and want to show off. But anyway, right on the screen there is Jeremy's email address. So if you would like to participate, please drop him an email and along with those photos, and he will go ahead and put them in a PowerPoint, and we'll go through them one by one. And you can talk to the slides to show off your works. So it's really all I had for tonight. So I will turn it back.
Chris,
Yes.
Chris, you have a typo in my email address. It's WyattJ01, no initial J.
Oh, no initial J. Crap. Okay, that's an easy fix. So there you go. WyattJ01@gmail.com. So I will fix that, and I'll get that corrected for us all here.
Chris, thanks so very much. And Jeremy, I really do appreciate you taking over for Chris doing this. I thank you so very much for your help.
You're welcome.
Now I'd like to go to the quick tip for the evening. Paul Thompson is not here tonight. He's still recovering from his illness. Ted Becker, who replaces Paul when Paul is ill, is not going to do it tonight. Nick Santo is going to do it tonight. Nick sent me an email and said that he had a great idea for a quick tip. And so Ted decided that Nick's idea was going to take precedent. And so, Nick, I will turn it over to you. Thank you so much.
I do not see Nick on the Zoom meeting.
Okay.
So we're going back to Ted?
Well, no, I think we'll skip that for tonight because we're running so late anyway, Ed.
Okay.
So now let me go to Martin Brettbilt, MMR, who's going to talk about scratch building another car. Martin, welcome.
Good evening. Took me by surprise. I'm here
I'm sorry.
up on the docket too early, but not too far unprepared. So,
Well, I have faith in you, Martin.
oh, good. Somebody on the planet does. I don't feel so lonely now. So I had actually a completely different set of slides set up for tonight. And about an hour ago, I said, let's do something different tonight. Because all you ever seen are the same types of cars, sort of, maybe kind of, it all seem to be related to maintenance away. And I think some people are beginning to wonder, do I build anything else? And the answer is yes. And it's going to be very different because I'm not going to start from scratch from the very beginning. This is a salvage exercise. You go to train shows, train meets, whatever you find half finished, half started, partial kits, whatever you want to call them, on tables for pennies on the dollar or in boxes under the table. And people are like, please take this and make it go away. And I used to do this pretty regularly. And at one point I had 20 or 30 partial or unfinished kits laying around. No, that's probably closer to 40 or 50. Maybe I'm down to 20. But this is one of the ones I picked up a long time ago, and it sat in a box until I finally got around to it. This is all we start with. You've got basically the standard end blocks, piece of roof stock on the top, all glued up. And this looks like, to my eye, to be probably a mainline kit. And some broken parts down here. But hey, guess what? The broken parts are still there. So that's actually a little bit of a bonus. You just glue that all back together and not worry about it. So this is what we're starting with, this little bit. And the naked ends and this lovely, ugly, horrific end grain, which you just can't do anything with in its current state. So we got to fix all this stuff. And oh yeah, we got to put sides on it. That would be nice. Build some sides. Otherwise, it's an air-conditioned box car. So before we put the sides on, though, got to add some weight to it. I have sheet lead laying around. We're not going to go into where I got that from because it's under the radar. This is a 2 or 3 millimeter sheet lead. You just cut it up with a pair of tin snips, pound it flat, glue it in place with some goo and some cyanoacrylate. It's not going to go anywhere, at least not in my lifetime, whatever that means at this point on the calendar. And yeah, that A I added. So I know which side of this car is which, because if we're going to build the sides, odds are the other side is not quite the same as this side. So I can't presume that they're identical 100% in any way. See, this joint's not the best, so things aren't probably aligned perfectly square 100%. So you have to custom build it to what's there. So let's start with some sides. And there's A and B. Fancy that. That's just some 1/32 basswood. I'm just going to build on top of that. So the grain's running left to right or right to left, depending on which reading system you use. And we're going to build on top of it going the opposite direction. So we're going to make 2-ply plywood, which is going to be fairly stable, not wander around on us. Some scribe siding cut at a 45-degree angle. We're going to put 2 doors here, so I've given it away already. Yeah, it's going to be a reefer car of some sort. But I'm actually measuring things. It's terrible, I know. I actually found the center of the car, so I made sure the doors go in the center, that they're the same height. Try to get things close. This is a little long. I know I put those things on there with overhang, then I just flip it over and trim it off later. But A matches the A side, B matches the B side. So things should line up when we're done with luck. Okay, add the rest of the scribe siding. Just wrap it around everything that's there, patch it together, glue it down, tight bond, whatever you like. I prefer the tight bond because it's never going to let go. And this will stay stable for a long, long time. Longer than I will care. It'll be somebody else's problem if it comes apart. Okay, so I didn't do too much to the underbody. I added a brake cylinder. Okay, it's not entirely naked. And I repaired the broken part. I didn't put the rest of the plumbing in. Just didn't feel like it, because drilling through a solid sill that it's already glued in place at that angle, very difficult to do. And I thought, just not worth my time and trouble. But it added the stirrup steps, added grab irons, add the corner braces, high and low, added all the reefer door hardware. This is old. I mean old, that's Walther's parts. White metal. I'm not sure where the other parts came from. That's just a piece of angle, brass angle, some more wood, close that up. The other side looks just like this. Take my word for it, please. But so we've gone from a open 2 end blocks, a roof and a floor, to we have a reefer car now. Well, let's take care of the roof while we're hanging around. These are actually from a company. I was probably in somebody's garage or basement, and he made a bunch of these. They're styrene. He made them half open and half, or the other version where they were completely closed. I have no idea where he went to or where to get more of them, and I wish I could find more of them, but they're beautiful and wonderful to work with. I have one set left, so there'll be one more reefer car of that style coming out. This is the okay, we stopped and started. So here we have my usual Panera tar paper roofing or canvas roofing, painted with dark lark gray. Everything else here is pre-painted with roof brown. So it pays to pre-paint things when you can. So different view of the same thing, so you can see these hatches. These are rather nice pieces. I wish I'd been able to make copies of them in some way that would have been realistic and of some decent quality. I guess you could buy the brass parts from Precision Scale, but my budget's not that well funded. So fast forward to the bitter end. I didn't even show the break end, sorry. But it's just basically a shaft going down here through a platform with a stirrup at the bottom. This is all painted. I've forgotten what color it is now, but it's one of the 1400 types of red brown. It's actually hand painted to make it more painful. But this lettering, this is the lettering I really enjoy using this stuff. This is a dry transfer set from Clover House. And it's 4 different colors, at least 4. Yeah, it's 4 different colors, 4 different layers. And you put this on a car each layer at a time. So the gold or the yellow layer went down first. You put the yellow down, wait a day, you seal it, come back, put the next layer down, put the white down. It's a little bit offset to get you that 3-dimensional quality. Put the white down, stop. Come back, seal it, put the red down. I think there was some black in it somewhere, but there's various colors, and you can really make some really distinctive looking cars with these dry transfers. Granted, maybe a little too early in the era for some people, but you know, when you have a neat looking car go by on the layout, it catches the eye and it stands out. It's like, well, where did that come from? Well, you made it. That's where it came from. And that's where the fun is of doing what I just did. Taking something that basically most people would have thrown into the fireplace, and at the end of the day, well, several days, you have a really unique car on your layout that's unmatched anywhere else. And there's the other side. It's a little bit slightly different on the offset. Getting that offset alignment's lots and lots of fun, but it's not really hard to do. It just takes a little bit of tedious exercise, holding it in place, using an embossing tool, pushing it down into the grooves. And usually I come back and actually start pushing it into the actual grooves of the striped siding. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to be short tonight, but that's something on the side I also do. I really enjoy grabbing old, unbuilt, unfinished starts of a kit that someone has abandoned for whatever reason. It's incredibly useful raw materials, and you can turn it into whatever you want. And all the stuff that's out there to do that. It's not like it's unavailable. So I'm done, and I'm ready for any more. I'm ready for the next interrogation.
Hey, quick question. For the brake lines, would you ever consider just doing the brake lines that are visible and just like gluing them in place?
Yeah, I thought about it. You have to kind of get something to secure them on top of those cross members, so you need something to hold them in place. So it's hard to drill stuff at right angles. And drilling, like I said, drilling a hole through that center sill, you know, not a lot of fun there. But sometimes they don't come with a center sill, and then I can go over the drill press and hack big holes in the side of the center sill and thread levers through it and all kinds of stuff. Makes it a lot more fun.
So
Thank you.
Martin, why do you have to go through this? So why can't I just go up to it and just go in a little bit and come out the other end a little bit?
Yeah, could do that. Probably should have. Probably could have.
It's the way I've cheated.
I may have had a momentary lapse of obsessive compulsive disorder, and didn't.
I'm never short of that.
Yeah, well, my ADD overtakes it some days and pushes it aside.
I got that too.
Yeah, it's a balancing point.
Martin, it's Greg. I have a question. With the multi-color transfers, you said you sealed it in between. What did you
Yes.
use, the dull coat?
No, you cannot use the standard tester's dull coat
Over
you
dry
should not
transfers, right?
over the Cloverhouse dry transfers. I
Right, so
actually
what did you
use
use?
the Rust-Oleum Matte Clear.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the problem with the Rust-Oleum Matte Clear, it is pungent beyond belief. And if your spouse has any sensitivity to it, you will hear screaming within minutes, maybe less. I certainly do. So I have to take these outside whenever I use that particular spray. Regular paint I can get away with. Other stuff, not so much. This stuff, not at all. This is like the alarm bells go off all over the house in seconds.
Okay, thanks.
My exhaust fan is nowhere near good enough. Great. Oh, by the way, the great thing about that stuff, it's a big rattle can and it's like $3 and it'll last you forever.
Martin, you're a great scratch builder. That's a beautiful car. It really is. That is an outstanding model.
I should have a second one. I couldn't find the second one. I'm pretty sure I built two of them, but somewhere there's another pair of reefers, but I don't know where they went to either. I'll have to dig them out. But I think I have like two more scratch builds to do. And if I get that one project car off my bench, then we can start moving into this old kit.
I got you.
There
Martin,
we go.
Thanks so very much. Really appreciate your time tonight.
No problem.
Well, now let's turn to Bill Davis for his build along of a LaBelle kit, a closed vestibule baggage car. Bill, welcome.
Okay. For some reason, I lost my video here of the meeting here. I've got to find myself here. There I am. Cool. Okay. Share screen. Okay. Share. Okay, so let's do this up here. Okay, so we're going to, let me get the full screen here. I had this problem last time too. How do I get this in this full screen? Is that it? There it is. Okay. No, that's still not full screen. Sorry, guys. Get me into full screen, somebody.
Go to
I would
where
Bill,
to where there's a little like a screen or up above
Down at your lower left, there's a little screen.
like a
Oh, here it
movie
is.
screen.
I was
Yep,
at lower.
Yes,
There
that's
I am. Okay.
there you go.
You got it.
Sorry, guys, for the delay. Okay, so we're moving into part two of my build of this LaBelle O-scale baggage car. I've reread the instructions. I feel a little better about them. I'm not so excited about them, but I feel better about them. And so before I get started on the actual what I did for part 2, I went to my local Michael's store to see if they still had that adhesive glue sheet that I talked about at the end of last time, and they do. And it runs $6.75 for 2 sheets. That's what it looks like. Just find it in the scrapbook section of the store, and if you're looking at a coupon, you take 40% off. And I haven't used it in this project, but on other projects it works out great. It saves a lot of grief putting down siding material and other things. You don't have to worry about the glue and stuff because everything out perfectly flat. It's great stuff. Okay, so now we're going to work on the ends this time. These are the parts that we'll be using. This is your basic end piece. This is the letter board. This is the quarter rounds that go on each side of the door. These are your siding pieces, and this is the edge piece that goes between this and the outside quarter round. This is the buffer for the bottom of the doors, bottom of the end, and this is part of the roof, which we'll get to later. All these parts have been assembled, as I had them spread out before I put them all together again. This has all been glued with tight bomb glue. Now, the discoloration you see there is because I added these grab irons. I'm going to show more about that in a minute. I took some nut bolt washer castings out of my collection. They're #1 castings from Grant Line, which is now San Juan. And this is 015/020 wire. And then after I put them all in there, I glued them from behind. I went ahead and blackened them so that if after this car's painted, if the paint chips off, they'll at least be blackened. So that's the result of the blackening agent against the wood there. It didn't hurt the wood any, it just discolored it. So by now you guys must know I love jigs. And so this is the jig I made for putting the grab irons on the car. What I did was, like to do the baggage doors, I put this against the side of the baggage door area. I put this against the bottom of the baggage door area. And these lined up perfectly with the quarter round. And I pre-drilled these. For the ends steps, I matched this against the edge piece there, against the bottom, and I drilled these out. And this way, all the way through this project, the car will all be the same. For the end ones, I drilled this hole here and this hole here. That was a mistake. So all this is a little piece of plastic that I cut, laid this whole thing out in this little piece of plastic. And I know now that when I laid these all out here, they're going to be the same. It's much easier, I don't know, a minute, 2 minutes to make this little jig. And it makes this whole project easier. And then I just toss it in my collection of jigs for when another project I might need to use it on. So here's the side completed. I mentioned I was going to put the metal sheeting between the doors, like I was in the one picture from part 1. I found I had some paper roofing material that was glue sheet on the one side. So I went ahead and stuck that down there. Here is the end grabs that I used that jig to put on. And there's the other side here the same. So this makes the side basically complete. I have the grab irons by the door. I have the grab irons by the ends. I have the metal sheeting put up there. I may add some kind of nailing detail or rivet detail or something like this. I don't know for sure if I'm going to or not, but I may do that. So now I got the 4 sides are all made. The ends are made. I went ahead and spread them with Tamiya gray primer. I like Tamiya paints among the paint choices I have, although I have many paint choices. So it came time to put the floor in. I'd already done the other 3 sides, so this is the 4th side I'm doing here. You notice I used a bunch of alligator clips for you old hippies, roach clips. And I used a little piece of wood so I didn't damage the edge when I'm clipping it on here. And for the ends, I have these bar clamps, and I clamped on each end. Of course, I put one direction, one the other direction, so the car had been flipped one to one side doing that. Once that was all dry, I took that all off. But now that means that it's all glued to the bottom, but the sides are not glued to the top and the ends. So I turned the car over and I added glue in the four corners here and clamped this down, and then did the same thing the other side here. Now, when you're doing this clamping on this part here, there's a little lip on the edge here that a piece of that 1x6 or I think it's 1x6. It has a green color on it that the kit has. And if you're not careful and you clamp on that, you're going to crush a piece of it. I know, because I did, which I got to be able to be repaired. So this is where our car is at this point in the project. All this is pretty simple. Be careful with one thing here. There's a lip cut into each side of the ends. The ends go in there first. So when I put this together, I put the ends in first, made sure they were square with a triangle I have. Same thing on the other end here. Let that totally dry. Then I added the sides, gluing them on the bottom only, and let that totally dry. And then I did the sides to the end connections on all four corners and clamped them. So this is where we're at. You'll see that right here, I have done the addition to the roof part that goes on the side of the car. I haven't done the other side yet, and we'll discuss the shaping of these pieces next time and possibly get into the cutting the roof and cutting the roof ends so that they have the curves, which is going to be a little tricky, but it's really not that difficult. So that's where we're at. That's pretty much what I've got for tonight. Any question, guys?
William, have you decided, it's Larry McDonald here, have you decided what roof profile you're going to do on the ends? So you showed you're showing prototype, you showed a CPR head end car. And I think
I thought about that, and I decided I would go ahead, since the kit provided all these extra parts here and for that part. And since I'm building the kit, I went ahead and went with the one that has I'll have to go back to my first slides to show it, but I decided on the one with the extension out. I did basically the Erie car that I showed.
Okay, I remember.
Yeah, but I was really tempted to do the CP car.
I haven't ordered mine yet.
This is a beautiful car, and I was really.
I think it was probably.
There's no reason you couldn't do the open platform.
Open platform, and I think they cut the platform, shortened the car, and they cut the roof off.
That's possible, but I don't think so because the way it lips. Let me go back to those pictures if I can get out of here. Okay, so let's get this full screen here. So this is the car end I'm doing, except I'm thinking about adding these side pieces here, like the kit is designed, and because you have this this buffer at the end here. But the car you're talking about, and it's a wonderful car. Seeing the way this is shaped and everything like this, I don't know if they cut that end off, because they would have had to change this part here if they did that. I think they built that way. I don't know that for sure, but I think that's what was done here. Now, CP did have, I don't know a lot about Canadian Pacific, but what I do know about it, they did have open end cars as well. Some, but I don't think that was modified to that. I think that's just the way the car was.
Yeah, in that case there, it would have to have been an old duckbill roof, and they cut the bill off and they took the platform off, I guess. But
right.
I have somewhere, there was an article, these were called the Kettle Valley cars.
Yes.
And there was an article on building them, the original ones in wood, and then I can't remember who did it in HO and brass, but they made them in brass also.
Gib Kennedy, I think his name was Gib Kennedy, and it was in a model railroader in 1960, I think.
Yep.
He built an entire train, all of wood, scratch built. They were just beautiful cars, especially for that period. It was great stuff. Yeah, that's quite a train. Anything else, guys?
Bill, thank you so very much. I think you're coming along just great. Car looks good.
Thank you.
Now, normally Jamie Bothwell would be on next to talk to us about underbody detail for passenger cars, but he had a conflict tonight, so he skipped tonight, and then he'll be with us the next time that Bill does one of his build along segments next Wednesday.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll be here.
Great. So then we've got, I've got a question. Well, so far, I'm happy to say that all of the questions that have been asked, we've been able to get answered. Two of them, we're going to have special segments coming up on the show. One for the soldering that Nick Santo is going to do, and the other on the use of the spray painter, and Clark Kooning MMR is going to do that one. So I'm really happy that so far we've been able to respond to the questions that have been asked to us. I don't have a new question for tonight. Again, let me remind you, if you'll go to our website, if you have a question that you'd like for us to address, there's a form on the website and it's an easy one to fill out. But if you'll just fill out the form and send it in, then we'll make sure that we try to answer your question. Well, all right, we've got two featured modelers tonight. One is Earl Hackett, who's going to be on first and start his series on 3D printing. And again, let me refresh your memory. What Earl's going to do is over the series of weeks, he's going to take us from the start of here is a part that I want to print. And then he's going to do all of the CAD work to get that part to be able to be printed. And then he's going to show us how to take that CAD product and put it into a 3D printer, and then operate the 3D printer, and then take the part at that point from the 3D printer and do the cleanup and preparation for the final part, and then show us the finished product. And I think that by doing it in small segments, I hope that it's understandable and everybody can ask the questions that they may have about the special parts of the process that he's going to be going through. Then after he's finished, Anita Walker, who owns Central Coast Trains in California, is going to be with us. She's the first hobby shop owner that I've invited to the show. And I'm really looking forward to Anita being here with us. So, Earl, I'll turn it over to you, sir, and you can show us how to do a 3D printing process.
All righty, let me bring this up. Whoops, what did I do? Okay, I got to share screen. Oh, you see that?
Yes, sir.
Oh, great. Okay, we're ready to go. Going to take you on a little tour of CAD systems and 3D printing tonight. It's going to be a 6-part series. And this is just the introduction. With 3D printing, you can build models that are unavailable, difficult to build. In fact, would be impossible to build any other way. And you can make lots of them at a very low cost. Many of my models cost less than a penny. This series is going to focus on the use of CAD software and 3D printing. And we're going to make custom parts, and interestingly, we're going to make some molds at the end, because sometimes you need a resin that's a lot stronger than what you get with the 3D print resins. Oh, come on now. Why am I getting that? Want to go to the next slide, you silly thing. Well, for some reason or other, I'm not getting. There we go. All right. This is the station at Wilmington, Delaware. This is the last I call traditional model that I built. It was a year-long undertaking. This is when I first installed it on the layout. The clock tower, it's a classic station that is here in Wilmington. It's my hometown. I thought, well, but it took me over a year to build that thing. And I said, man, that is not going to work. So I started looking around. And 3D printing looked really interesting. And this was, quite a few years ago. The tools are very different. You're going to need a reasonably competent computer. The one I have now is i7 4 quad, it's a beast. I started off with an old 286 and designed my current house in it. But you're going to need CAD software. And the CAD software is something that a lot of people have a problem with because you got to pay for it to get the good stuff. And you need a high resolution printer. I have a Mars 2P, Illigo Mars 2P. I was so impressed with it, I went and bought the Saturn, which is a little bigger version of it. Now, when you come down to printers, the best printers you're going to find use UV light to polymerize a liquid resin. And typically there's a tank of resin, the light shines up from underneath. There's a build plate that comes down on top and the stuff polymerizes, sticks to the build plate. It moves up a little bit, shoot it again, moves up a little bit, shoot it again. You'll see how that works. There are three basic types. Now you could take these filament machines and forget about them. They cannot come anywhere close to providing the detail that we're looking for. Formlabs, years ago, I looked at a Formlabs laser scanner. This was the first ones out on the market. It wasn't bad, but it just didn't have the resolution I was looking for. So I just said, we'll keep on going. Today, there are two that I know of that are pretty darn good. You have the digital light projection, or DLP. That's a Texas Instrument technology where they use a bazillion little tiny mirrors. And when you want them to light the thing up, they'll flip one way and they shine light up at the target. And if you don't want them, it shines light the other way and it doesn't shine up. So it's a digital system. They use it for movie theaters now. That's if you go to a movie theater, there's no film. It's all digital light projection. The other one that I particularly like is liquid crystal display. Elegoo, Anycubic, they both have them. Basically, you have a digital. You've seen these all over the place. It's just an LCD screen, and they turn on. Light comes through, turns off, expose it, and underneath you have these a bank of UV LEDs that provide the light for you. Elegoo and Anycubic will give you 20 pixels per millimeter. That's 0.05 millimeters per pixel. That's really good. I wouldn't go for anything less than that. The printer. Now, you could buy, these printers don't cost much. The Mars 2P cost me $300. I said, heck, I didn't know what I was getting. I just said, for $300, I'll give it a shot. And I was blown away by what it does. But if you don't want to go with that, you can start by experimenting. You can start going to Shapeways. Shapeways has their fine detail plastic. I've used it for 10 years and it works very, very well if you understand the problems you're going to run into. This is one of the parts I made years ago for the station at Rotsford, West Virginia. It's supposed to be flat. You can fix this by boiling some water. You don't want to put it in the boiling water, just to let the water stop boiling, throw it in, let it sit for a few minutes to come to temperature and put a weight on it and then walk away and come back in an hour when it cools down and it should be flat. They also have a problem with maintaining the same size. Those three pieces there, my thought was I'll build these brick walls and the bricks will interchange like a finger joint. They weren't the same size and it didn't work very well. So if you want parts in their process to be exactly the same size, they have to be printed together. We were right next to each other. So they get the same exposure and heat treatment and everything else. And finally, and this is not so important for the model itself, but if you're going to use it for building a mold, for making another part, this roughness right here, you can see how rough that surface is. This surface is very smooth. Here you see some more roughness. It all depends on the direction of the print head when it's moving. This is where the print head turns off. They've laid down wax. Wax turns off. It comes back again with another print head, puts down UV curable resin. This forms a really rough surface. And if you make a silicone mold with it, the silicone will lock into this stuff and you will not be able to get the part out of the mold. So you have to give it a coat with a clear coat, so a gloss clear coat, and that fills these things in. Then you're good to go. The other problem you run into is with very fine wires. They call them wires. I call them mullions or something. This window here was part of that station. These are about 20 to 25 thousandths in cross section, and even at 25 thousandths, I got about a 50% yield on these. They would warp and change dimension and cause all kinds of problems. But it worked. And I wound up with this. This is a station. Everything on this station is 3D printed in Shapeways, fine, they're good stuff. They're fine detail plastic. Everything except for the base here, which is just a big hunk of plastic, styrene. And there's lights incorporated inside the canopies and everything. It came out all right, but you can still see there. You can see some curvature here, and you can see some curvature here. There is some warping that I just could not get rid of, but it didn't. It came out pretty good. One thing that you can do, and this is just the program that I use. This is a cut surface of a random cut surface on a big piece of granite or sandstone or whatever they used. And each one of the pieces that are along the base here, they're all different because of the way I was able to do it in the CAD system. Worked out pretty good. The only problem with Shapeways is the cost. You have to be very careful in the way you design the parts. You have to keep the cost down by minimizing the volume that you use. This is the signal bridge that I've used. I made quite a few of these. In this configuration, it costs $70 because all this red stuff here is supporting wax. You have to get rid of all the supporting wax that you possibly can. I took off the base, removed a few other things, got this right down on the build plate. $10, not bad. That's acceptable. You still have some problem. If you look in here, there's problems here with the rivet detail where they have to have support to hold up the rivet detail. It's sort of irritating, but they came out quite good. And I'll show you some pictures of finished models later on. One of the other ways to keep costs down if you're going to Shapeways is to make molds. For that signal bridge, I built a mold, and I'll show you how to build these later on. But the LEDs are encapsulated and the wiring all encapsulated in the signal mast. The wires come out through here and they eventually find their way down to the base where you plug it in. These bases here, they're again castings made from a master that was a 3D printed part. And these were also made from a mold, from 3D printed molds. But this was a conventional mold. It's two parts, you dump the resin in, close it up, hope the heck it works. These, on the other hand, were what I call resin infusion. You put the mold together, you pour the resin into this funnel, it runs down through the sprues, comes up through the top, and you get absolutely no flash. This is raw. These are raw castings taken right out of the mold, not treated. All of these are like that. But here you can see the flash that has to be trimmed off. It's not difficult, but it's not really difficult. Software. Now, this is where you're really going to, this is where you're going to spend all your time. The printing is you're going to see later on. You take your thumb drive, plug it into the machine, push the button and walk away. And then come back in 4 or 5 hours and it's done. Clean it off, throw it in a post-cure oven, and it's done. The printing is so simple, it's not even hardly worth discussing. You'll see how easy it is. But the software has to have certain things. Direct support of STL files. The STL files, these are the things that the printer understands. So you want to be able to directly export them. You need to be able to produce models with accurate dimensions. In other words, I'm going to tell it, I want this thing to be 1.45 millimeters long, and it's got to be that, because they have to fit together later on. And it's nice to be able to scale the drawings. In other words, make a drawing in full scale and then shrink it. Here's an 85-foot coach that I want to build a model of. There's several of them I want to build models of. And this is Rhino. This is the Rhino display, the standard command set. If I put a measuring tool on this thing and measure from the length of it, it'd say it's 85 feet long. Now I could build my model full scale like this, but when I shrink it down to HO size, these walls would virtually disappear. But what you can do is make outlines. You can make a surface, which would be just a plain surface with the window cutouts, the fluting, all this stuff. Shrink it down, and now you have this surface at HO scale. And you can build up the walls and the seating and all that stuff in a dimension that will actually allow you to pick it up without crushing it. So for software, my preferred program today is Rhino 3D. It combines a free-form surface and solid modeling, which to me is important. A permanent license is $1,000. I bought it in version 4. I'm now at version 7. An upgrade is usually $400, and it's every couple of years. I will probably not buy another upgrade because I can't imagine what else it can possibly do that I'm interested in. The one I started with was Ashlar Vellum, and now it is sold as Ashlar Vellum Argon. I designed quite a few things in it, but it didn't. My version did not have surfacing; it just had wireframe. And the original, the model you saw there of the Wilmington station was designed in Ashlar Vellum. It's an excellent interface. It's permanent license for us retired guys is $520. That's not too bad. There are free CAD systems. Two that I've looked at in detail are Onshape and Fusion 360. I was able to get both of them to work to an extent, but their primary function is looking at mechanical assemblies like an engine. You have a piston and a crankshaft. The crankshaft spins around and the connecting rods are going up and down, and you want to make sure that it doesn't bang into something. And it does finite element analysis to look at stresses and strains and all that stuff. We don't need that. But it does, these are generally not easy to put fine detail on. SketchUp, it's free, and I gave up. I can't figure out how to use it. So anyway, this is the interface for Argon. It's a development from the one that I used years and years ago. And what I used was this one here, which has a wire frame, but it removes the wires that are behind the ones that you see. So they're there, but you don't see them. Argon has came up with it's an improvement on it, and they put surfacing on it. And now I've never used Argon except as a trial. You can buy it. You can get a free download for 3 months, and you can play with it. I get this clock started here. Okay, but it's a. I believe it's an excellent product, and the interface is very easy. You have lines, arcs, circles, ellipses, rectangles, and they have primitives down here of all the different primitive surfaces that you can work with, squares and spheres and whatever. This is the station at White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. It's one that I'm in the process of converting from. This was done in the old Ashlar Vellum 3D, and I'm converting it now to a Rhino product so that I have surfaces and brick detail and all that kind of good stuff on it. And this will be, I will 3D print all these parts eventually. This is Rhino. Now this thing can be scary. This is the standard tab. It has all these commands here and all these things along here. Each one of these tabs has another whole set of commands. You look at this and you go, oh my God, why am I supposed to learn this? Well, you don't need to. The only things I use is this section right in here, where you have basically lines, surfaces, surface editing. Down here we have arrays and copy, move, rotate, simple things like this. Once you get the hang of the system, you're only going to use these few commands. All this other stuff, I don't even know what most of this stuff does. I've never looked at it. I have no interest in it. But here's I skipped over this one. I took Onshape, and I spent 4 hours trying to build a signal relay box. And this is where I got to. And it's the right shape, it's the right size and everything. But that's not what I was trying to get to. This is what I wanted. These are it took me maybe 2 hours to build one of these boxes with all the latches and the hinges and all that stuff, the bases, supports for the angle iron that would come out and support the maintenance platform. A couple hours for this. Making this one, I just took this one and stretched it. It takes 15, 20 minutes to do that. And then you put bunches of them on the platen and print them all at once. Now, another thing about using a 3D modeler and a surface thing, this is the 3D model of the signal mast. I also could build a surface. This is just a surface. And I can design the maintenance platforms and the ladders to fit the model that I'm going to 3D print. And from that, I can build the etching patterns to send this off to be etched in brass, or with phosphor bronze is a better material. And I sent this off to PPD over in Scotland, and they sent me back several sheets of it. And they do a beautiful job. So the club needed a part. They were building a peach warehouse transfer thing of some sort. And they said, we need peach crates. And I said, well, that'd be a good thing to demonstrate this with. Well, I said, here's the peach crates. They're sitting on this truck. The truck bed is 8 feet wide. So I know the length is 4 foot. This wheel is 40 inches in diameter. And when I scaled it out, these are 40 inches by 24 inches. So that's the size of the peach crate I'm going to build. I put these up on another screen so I can reference these to what sizes I want to create my parts to. And we're going to have a short demo on how to build one of these things. We're doing this in Rhino, and it should play. It's supposed to do it automatically, but it's not, so I'm going to click it. Oh, come on, you silly thing. There it goes. Okay, here we go. It's starting. So it's starting off. So what we're going to do here is I'm drawing the base dimensions of it. And up here, you enter in the size you want. These are taken from those measurements that I showed you earlier. And you've created now just a rectangle. Now we're going to draw the a slat. Slats up here, we're going to putting in the dimensions of one of the particular slats that stand up. So there it is. Now what you got to do is give the slat some thickness. So and then I'm going to what they call extrude straight, and I type in how far I want it to go. 0.4 millimeters, which is about a little over an inch HO scale. That provides some surfaces, but the top and bottom are not there. So we're going to go in and highlight those surfaces and say, oh, come on, I just got to select surface. Oh, okay. Return, bang. Now you can see it's starting to put its surfaces in here. Do it again. And now you have a 3D. This is a solid model now. And I really don't need to do this, but I did. That was a mistake. Now I have two end pieces now. That's how, I couldn't talk while I was doing this. So I have to talk over the player here. So I'm going to stand this thing up. And along this side, there were 10. Along the base here, there were 10 pieces. So we're going to draw a line that's the same length. And we're going to divide it into 10 sections. Cloud divide by number of segments, 10. You don't see anything, but just to show you, I'm going to draw a line and we're going to move it into the center point of each of these sections. Mid, here you go. We just line them all up. Okay, so that gives me 10 equally spaced positions along that line. We'll go over here, we'll pick this guy up, take the midpoint of that point, bring him over, and now we're going to copy it to the end of each of those lines. Now, I wouldn't do it this way. I would have, there are other ways of doing it, but this is more to show you how, give you an idea of how it's done, how these things work. Get rid of all that trash, select them all, and we're going to move them right up to the edge of the crate. Boom. Now we're going to do what's called mirror. Going to move, I'm going to select mirror, it's over there, go to the midpoint, draw a line, and bang, all those guys are now over here, copies of them. We're going to do the same for the other ends. And I think they had 8 pieces. Rotate it so we can get it on there. And we're going to draw a line to match that. Now, because that's an odd number, it's not an even. I came over there from this edge. So this line here, that portion of it, it's exactly the same. You get rid of that, take this, point cloud, by number of segments. How many? 8 segments. Okay. And we'll do the same thing over here. Just draw a random line, 1 millimeter long, and we're going to copy it. Where's the copy? Get the copy. Come on. There you go. Now, this is important. You can make mistakes. You notice that I'm having trouble finding that midpoint. If you don't pay attention, you can put it at the wrong spot, and things really get messed up if you do that. You really have to make sure you're picking the right position on when you're working with one of these CAD programs. So now we'll get this guy here, collect this little slat. And we're going to copy him from there and go do the same. We're going to do exactly the same thing as you did on the previous side.
How did you find the midpoint?
It finds it for you.
Oh,
If you
okay.
look down here, you look down at the bottom, you have all these things. You can select what you want it to look for.
I got you.
And you say, if you don't want it, sometimes you don't want it to find the midpoint because it finds it and it's a bad thing to find, or the center, or you just turn them off so that you don't have to screw with them. Now here again, look at get the midpoint. There you go, bang, zoom. And you have all the slats, they're all built up. And that's That's how fast it goes. So next time, we'll give the crate a more prototypical appearance. I'm going to make the slats all different widths. We're going to assemble multiple versions of the crate. And we'll get them ready for printing. And getting them ready for printing is turned out to be a lot more interesting than I thought it was. So that's it for tonight. Take care. We'll talk to you later.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah. There we go. I'll bring myself back on here, share, and I'll get rid of this. Okay. I don't know.
Anybody have any questions for Eric?
Earl, have you ever heard of something called Blender?
Yes, I do. I have it on my machine. It does. It is very good for doing amorphous structures. I'm working on it right now. I need a bunch of people to sit in my passenger cars. So I need sitting people. Not hard to find. They're very hard to find out in commercial. So I'm learning Blender to figure out how to draw people. And it's turning out to be a real challenge because it's a new one for me. I know it can be done. There's some really nice stuff out there. So I know people can do it, but they're not telling me how it's done. I have to figure it out for myself.
So you don't think you can use it for structures?
Oh, you can. Yeah, you can use it for structure. It is not copying and pasting and mirroring. It's not as good as the either Arvellum or Rhino. It's more intended for amorphous artistic stuff. If you're doing jewelry, it works great. But I tried it years ago and I didn't have much success with it. But I'm going back now because it does amorphous surfaces, which your CAD system, your traditional engineering CAD systems are terrible at doing. They're absolutely, they don't do it. As simple as that. So I'm back in experimenting with it and trying to learn it.
Earl, I'm just learning and I'm just about ready to give up on SketchUp. I've just not been able to master it. I've done years and years of AutoCAD and other graphics programs for make a living. But if you don't use SketchUp, what's your next best affordable recommendation when you're on the learning curve? Would it be Fusion 360 or what else is available for free?
Well, I would take a look at Onshape. It's Onshape. It's just ONSHAPE. It's in English. It works in England. And when you sign up for it, it's free. And it runs in the cloud. It's not on your machine. All you need is a Ethernet connection. And you don't even need a fast Ethernet connection. You get the full system. Nothing's held back. You get everything they have. The only difference is for professionals, their data is secured and not available to anybody else. For a modeler, you don't care if somebody else sees your model. And so
I'm not proud. I'd be embarrassed if they did.
Exactly. So to me, and this is common with European software firms. If you're an amateur, come and use our stuff, but we're not going to protect your data. And for most of us, that's fine. That's a wonderful thing.
No problem.
Now, Fusion 360 and Onshape are very, very similar. Now, I did the house I'm in now, I did in AutoCAD version 1. This was 30 years or more ago.
Yeah, we're showing our age.
Yeah, I know. So, and I still look at the house, and because it was a 2D program, I look at things that I did wrong. And I say, oh, I could have had a closet there, and I didn't put one. But at any rate, you could take a look at Fusion 360. I have found them to be that and Onshape to be a bit on the clunky side, somewhat difficult to work with. So it's a I
Well,
don't know,
you want
have
to try to get somewhere along the way before you invest in commercial software, or you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
But I would like to get into it, and one of the easiest ways to get started is to work up the designs and then take the and for the first few send me Shapeways, which I've done some of theirs. Just take some of their available from somebody else, and I don't even mind paying a few pennies for a license for something that's somebody has developed, and I can get some prints of. I've also used Thingiverse to get some other designs download for free and had those printed. But before I invest in either the printer and or the software, I'd like to try something basic, and so I'm going to try Onshape. Thank you.
Try it and do something simple. Don't put a lot of detail in it. Like that relay box I showed. It's just a box.
Simple enough. That's a great way to start.
And send it to Shapeways and have them print it.
Mm-hmm. Battery boxes underneath the passenger car, or one that's
simple things like that. Yeah, and have Shapeways print it and work your way into it, because I'll show you some of the. Well, you saw Ronsford, the station at Ronsford. I printed that. That whole thing is printed, brickwork and everything. And I'm doing other things that are very similar to that now with my own printers at home. So, yeah, I would start with something real simple, because that's what I did. And I don't think you're going to be very successful. If you try to do like the cantilevered signal bridges that I've done with all the rivet detail and everything, that's not where you want to start.
Understood.
Earl, I think you're off to a great start on this. I really do appreciate you taking the time and putting this program together for us, because I think as you go down the road a little bit, I think it's going to be pretty clear to people whether this is something that they really want to get involved with. So thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome.
Can I just add one thing on the Fusion 360 before you go? From what I've heard, there is right now you can do trial version for free. So if you're looking at to explore and you're familiar with CAD, it may present some options. I don't know much on the costs right offhand, but might be just worth doing a bit of investigation on that.
Yeah, Fusion 360 used to be free, and they changed their policy recently.
So you can't do the trial for free still?
You can just do the trial. Yes, it used to be free for non-commercial use totally, and they had some minor things that they didn't. You couldn't do mechanisms and things like that. They took that out but for modelers, who cares? But yeah, they took that away, and now it's one thing, and you can have a free trial with it. It's not a cheap program.
No, but it's something to explore.
Yeah,
and it's free to explore at that point.
Yes, it's free to explore. Yeah, Ashlar Venom's Argon is also free to explore for, I think, 3 months. And so was Rhino, for that matter. They all have free 3-month, 90-day trials.
Earl, thanks so much. Really do appreciate it.
Okay, well, take care.
Now I'd like to turn to Anita Walker. Anita is the first hobby shop owner that we've got on the show. And I really do appreciate, Anita, you taking the time to be with us tonight. Anita owns Central Coast Trains in California. And Anita, welcome to the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, listen, let me ask you some questions here and see if we can find out a little bit about you and your business.
Okay.
Your hobby shop, exactly where is it, and why'd you start it, and what do you sell there?
Oh, that's fun. Okay. Started back in September of '95 with my first husband because he was an N scaler and he was never able to get anything for N scale at the regular hobby train stores because they all catered to HO guys. So started it with specializing in special order, catering to the customer, and 26 years later, we're still doing that. We're located at 7600 El Camino Real, Suite 3 in Atascadero, California. And phone is 805-466-1391. Check out the webpage at centralcoasttrains.com. And if you need to talk to me, it's Anita@cctrains.com.
And it's interesting because when I met Anita, it brought back so many memories for me, and just talking with her about the fun that I used to have going to a hobby shop. Nowadays, I don't really have a hobby shop close to me, but I really enjoyed talking with her, and that was what started me down this path of trying to get the people that own the hobby shops to come on the show. What about your personal experience, Anita, in the hobby? Are you a model railroader? How
I actually am not, but I'm fairly versed in almost every scale. You learn something new every day, whether you want to or not. And my first husband started me here with this area with Jim Fitzgerald, if anybody knows N-Track. Jim Fitzgerald used to live out in this area, and we were the part of the original North County Model Railroaders Clubs.
I'll be darned.
I can talk you through everything. I'm certified by Soundtracks as an authorized dealer and installer. And they twisted my arm and made me run the train as well. Got to go to Silverton on 2 different occasions during our training.
Well, I know you're heavily involved with the different clubs and the NMRA out there.
Yes.
In fact, that's how I found you, because yeah, you happened to donate the prize, and I happened to be lucky enough to win it. So
there you go.
and I know that you're heavily involved with the organizations out there.
Yes. If not a member, I'm an honorary member of almost everything.
What do you see as your business challenges as a hobby shop owner, Anita?
Getting my customers and clients to plan their projects so I have a fighting chance to get it in the store so that it'll be ready for when they're ready for their projects. I carry a full line of everything, scales, Z through G, but I only have so much space, so I can't have everything, but I'm willing to get you anything.
Well, you talk about the model railroaders planning their projects. How can the model railroad community work with you more efficiently or effectively to make you more money and them get more service and the benefit of more products from you? How can that connection be made?
It's old school where I come from. It's a phone call, an email, a fax. You get a hold of me however you want to. I even get letters with the planned, what they want me to get and assemble, and then wait for it all to be assembled and sent out in one box. So if you're dealing with me, I'm the chief cook and bottle washer here, and I have volunteers that help me, but they're not going to be touching the computer and checking the emails and stuff like that. So if they could plan for their future to help me get things in, because I can only have so many on my wall. And when they say, hey, I want 7 of those right-hand switches, I'm not going to carry them that deeply, but I'll get them for you.
Well, and you were kind enough to get the stuff that I wanted very efficiently for me. But talk to me a little bit more about this. In other words, if I'm starting a project, and I have some idea of all of the various things that I need, I can give you that, and then you'll assemble those pieces together for me.
Correct.
And once you've got them all, then you'll notify me, or you'll send them all out in one box to me.
Yeah, I will assemble it or give you an update on what's coming in. You can tell me whether you want the stuff that's here already sent now, or if you want me to wait for the whole thing to come in, and I'll give you the ETAs of when they're going to be. I do communicate that very well in emails, so if you want to talk firsthand, you give me a jingle and I'll answer the phone.
Gotcha. Another question that's important to the people that model are your Walters orders, particularly. And the modelers want to know how often can they make an individual order from you for Walters? Do you do it regularly, once a week or something like that?
I order minimally from them once a week, usually twice a week. So I like to have California time, your wants on Wednesday, on Thursday before noon, so I can push that order. And then the next order will be Saturday by close of day at 5 o'clock. So my Thursday orders come in on Wednesday and my Saturday orders come on Friday if there's not too many boxes in the system.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I try to plan for when my volunteers are going to be there so that they can help me price those orders and call the customers so I can get the next batch of mail order going.
So then you notify the customer when the order comes in?
Yes.
So in other words, twice a week with your store, I can call you, place a order for Walters, and within 3 or 4 days, I should be able to get that order and pick it up at your store.
Yes, approximately a week from the day I place the orders when I get it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, but if it's something's back ordered and you want to wait for the box to be complete, we can do that.
Anita, besides Walters, who else do you do that kind of thing with? The suppliers?
I make 3 distributors happy weekly. That's Horizons, because they carry the Adern and all the ones that they own, McHenry and Roundhouse, if they're exclusive because they own it. And I deal with Heartland Wholesale Hobbies. And I deal on occasion with a couple other distributors as well.
Do you do this with any, what I'll consider the small manufacturers that are around the country? Because yes. How does that work?
A lot of them, it's a monthly order. I mean, Katie, Microtrains, Microengineering, Digitrax, all these smaller manufacturers, or direct to the manufacturer, PCS, ESU of sound. So I deal directly with a lot of the sound companies that are doing the DCC and sound. I mean, I deal directly with Central Valley, and it's in Oceano, right down the road from us. They do the bridges and stuff, the bridge kits and stuff. And that's Jeff at Central Valley.
That's fantastic. Well, let me ask you this. Some of the modelers are Canadians that are on the show. And shipping costs to Canada for them is a real nightmare. I mean, to hear some of the stories that they tell about buying a $40 kit and paying $50 to have it shipped to Canada is just ridiculous in my mind. What can be done to help the Canadian buyer, if anything?
I don't do a lot of Canadian sales because it's difficult to deal with shipping to them. I deal with Germany, Switzerland, Australia, Denmark. I go all over the place, but Canada is harder than all them. I don't lie on the customs forms. Because that's my reputation on the line, but I do fill it out the way it's supposed to be, and I can go, if they allow it, go first class. Sometimes up to 4 pounds, they'll let you do first class instead of priority, but I charge the exact, whatever the post office charges, that's what I charge the customer. I take care of the boxes, the tapes, the labels, everything like that, but whatever the post office charges me, that's what I charge the customer. I'm not making any money on the postage.
Gotcha. What, in your store, do you do hands-on clinics at all? I mean, do you have that kind of capability?
Every single day when someone walks in and asks a question, they're getting one-on-one hands-on clinics.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
You teach you until you're ready to say, I'm full, I'll come back later.
The modelers said to me, we want a hobby shop to stock the basics. We don't expect them to have everything in the world that we want. There's just no way that they can possibly do that. But what we need the hobby shop to do is take care of the basics for us. Does that make sense to you?
Oh gosh, I do. In say HO to begin with, I'm going to carry the Atlas and the Lifelike, the Bachmann, and the Pico in the code 100. In the code 83, I'm going to have your Atlas. I'm going to have your microengineering because that's the best anyway. Pico, code 83, and whenever Walters gets their 83 back in stock, I'll have that as well. I've got that back ordered for when they do it. I've got paints, 3 different kinds. Pretty much everything Woodland Scenics has for scenery I have, but I also have knock and bush and pre-size and other standard scenery things. I deal with Bragdon, Joel and Jenny Bragdon. They do all of the rock molds and weathering chalks and all that stuff. I usually order about 30 at a time, but I wait for a customer to order one that I don't have so that I'll make my customers happy and fill my shelves at the same time.
Right.
Same thing with Micromark. They have atrocious shipping. So I usually wait for my customers to help me get me a minimum order, and then I fill my wall holes as well. But I bring that in. You'll have to pay what Micromark's charging, but I'm eating the shipping for that one. Other than sending it to you, and then it's just actual weight shipping. It's not this gigantic amount that they come up with.
Anita, there's so many small manufacturers in the model railroad industry today. People that are making 3D parts, people that are doing kits because they like the particular building or they like the particular station and so forth. What about the hobby shops? What can they do? How can they work with those small manufacturers?
I deal with a lot of the smaller manufacturers. If a customer asks me to, I will go approach that manufacturer and ask if I can be a dealer if they want a representation out in California where I am. And I haven't had too many of them tell me no.
Okay.
So,
but from your standpoint, you're kind of customer driven. If the customer likes the manufacturer and wants you to be able to represent the manufacturer, then you approach the manufacturer.
correct. It's not a want. It's not a want until someone tells me to get out there.
Gotcha. What about if a manufacturer calls you and says, hey, how about representing me?
I've done that. I mean, Tangent, just getting out there, Owl Mountain Models, I've got his stuff out there. There's just so many small manufacturers that I've actually bought it straight off the manufacturer at shows. I restock up. TAM Industries that makes the display cases. I deal with Trent. So I have a list longer than my arm on doing just that. I'd say almost every single manufacturer started in the garage of a modeler who wanted something and couldn't find it, so they started creating it. And then people saw it and said, I want that too.
I agree with you. That's exactly what happened. So Anita, what are your future plans? You've been in this 26 years. Obviously you're successful. You're model trains only. You don't handle model airplanes and all the rest of it. So obviously you're very focused, which is really rare, in my opinion, around the country. So what are your future plans now?
I'm unique in that way, but I have a lot of customers that dabble in all different things, but I have full line distributors that I will bring them in there all their wants without carrying it in my store. So I can get other things besides. I can get the RC and the different models for those customers. My plan is to not retire for a while. Guess I'll just tell it like it is. I will be 60 this year, but I don't feel that age. I don't plan on quitting. I don't know if I have another 25 or 26 years in me, but I enjoy what I'm doing. I like 95% of my customers. I've got a few of them that don't come in happy. Who wouldn't be happy playing trains? Come on. But I have lost 2 husbands through all this, and I'm just getting back into starting to feel myself again and get back into my customer service aspect that I do, I think, very well.
I understand that your husband that just died recently was really a fantastic model railroader, and
he's probably in the top 10% of WP layouts here in the United States. So he's done the entire Western Pacific through Portola, all the way through to Quincy and the Red River Lumber, and a full working Ketty Y and Koga, the whole entire thing. It's in a building that is 25 or 35 by 50. And he's got 15 scale miles of track, 97 switches, and it's a masterpiece.
I understand that you're thinking about maybe turning it into a museum.
We're talking some nonprofits and some different museums locally that might take it on to keep it active. I know Carl's friends are coming out even on the 14th. They're going to come out and they're going to run the track seating cars and move some things around just to get it to make sure it keeps on running.
Well, that's one I wish you the best of luck with it.
Yep, thank you.
Well, does anybody have any questions for Anita? Well, I guess you've answered all the questions, Anita. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. And thank you so much for all of the help you were to me personally, filling my order. I mean, you did a great job for me, and I really do appreciate it.
I do want to tell the modelers that if they don't support their remaining hobby shops, we will not be around. When I started back in the 80s, 90s, there were 65 train stores in the state of California. We're down to 8. And that's true of all states. Caboose in Denver doesn't exist anymore. So that's a big one. So if we don't support our local mom and pop shops, we're going to be going away, and then you're not going to be able to get that paint.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Anita, thank you so much for being here tonight. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Great to be here. Bye.
Well, now that's it for this evening. Our next Zoom meeting will be Saturday, June the 12th, with our featured modeler, Kevin Strong, who's a G-scale scratch builder, who's going to show us his model railroad and actually operate it for us. We've also got the Rick and Marie Hunter build along of their Hunter line kit. Dave Silvernail is rocks and weathering. Dave Woodhead is going to build a shelter, a shed, and we're going to have quick tips. So I hope that you'll visit our website, newtracksmodeling.com, for more information on what's going to be coming up in the future on our shows. If you have any suggestions or ideas or comments, please let me know. You have a form on our website where you can just put out anything you want to, and I'll get it, and I will respond to it. So I want to thank you again for coming. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you learned something, and happy modeling until next time. Thank you.